guys need me. Good luck.
Okay, so hi everyone. Thanks a lot for joining in. I'm excited to join Kate for our webinar about the Eventful earnings and the confidence to charge what you're worth. As a quick reminder about Maru and myself, so I'm Alex, founder and CEO of the company, and Maru is a great platform for wedding and events businesses, specifically tailored to our industry. And we provide services and convenience around invoicing your clients, making the payments to your contractors, and organizing all the contracts in one place. Today's topic it's very on time because we were making some changes around pricing. So I'm very excited to be joined by wonderful Kate Turner, who leads Kate & Company, a renowned Midwest-based event planning firm celebrated to their for their extraordinary designs. And apologies again if my connection is cutting out, but Kate, it will be I'll be very interested if you can introduce yourself and share more about your business.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay? If not, let me know in the chat. We are about to get a big storm here in St. Louis. And so I'm toggling between 3 different internets right now, but I'm getting some thumbs up. My name is Kate Turner. I am the founder and creative director of Kate & Company. We are a Midwest-based event planning and design firm that is exclusively full service. I started Kate & Company in 2012, and we've had many, many, many iterations from really big to really small and everything in between. It's been lovely. Earlier this year, we launched our education platform called Kate's Party People, specifically targeted to Midwest-based or middle of the country event planners, because as you know, what works in LA and what works in New York doesn't work necessarily for me in St. Louis in a more mid-sized marketplace. We also have a production company and I have a catering background, so all kinds of things. But I've been doing this for about 16 years and I wouldn't change a single thing.
That's amazing. And Kate, how did you did you start from the wedding industry from day one, or it was some sort of transition over time?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question. So I am the quintessential woman who always wanted to be a wedding planner. I think I'm the only one of all of my friends who had every Martha Stewart Weddings magazine. When everyone else was reading Teen Bop or whatever the heck that was going on at the time, I was combing through wedding magazines. I dressed up like a bride a couple of times for Halloween. I was just obsessed with all things wedding. I told my dad I was going to go to school to become a wedding planner, and he lovingly told me that wasn't a real job. And so he really encouraged me to go to school for business because he's an entrepreneur. And so I actually went to school first for accounting. I am a closeted numbers nerd, probably like you, Alex. I love numbers. I actually not only went into accounting, I went to tax accounting, which like this time of year, I'm always like, why the heck did I do that? This is how big of a nerd I am. I did accounting competitions, traveled doing that, competing, was named one of the top 5 students in the world in terms of accounting, and came home and I was like, I hate accounting. What the hell was I thinking? And so ended up getting a degree in marketing. So I think we've seen some success because I'm a rare breed that can do both the left and right side of my brain. Additionally, my team, I have people who are true left sides, true right sides, and they work together rather than trying to hire somebody to do all of it. From there, I went to work for the family business. I landed kind of ass backwards into corporate event planning. And I liked it, but it always felt a little bit like a consolation prize to me. It was almost what I wanted to be doing, but really not quite. And so in 2009, believe it or not, I was going through a divorce and thought, this is a great time to get into wedding planning, is when my marriage is falling apart. And so I did that. I worked for another wedding planner, and then started my firm in 2012, and then married the love of my life, my husband, who's my business partner, in 2013. And like I said, we've had many iterations and other businesses within the hospitality industry, but Cake and Company's always been my passion.
That's amazing. And it looks like through entire career and your life journey, you clearly found or look for the optimizing and increasing the value of yourself as a professional, and like looking where you can apply yourself the most. And I think it's a really good kind of segue to the topic of our conversation. It will be really good if you can share your insights how event planners or event professionals can better understand their unique value in the industry.
Absolutely. I think that event planners are and should be, so I don't mean this negatively, the gatekeepers to our clients, because our role is to make sure that their day is as flawlessly executed as possible. So we have to build out the best vendor and creative partner teams for our clients. And not every vendor is created equal. Not every florist is created equal, just like not every wedding planner is created equal. And so I think giving yourself the permission as an event planner to be the gatekeeper for your clients, it's okay. It's okay to protect your clients. But at the same time, I think what makes us truly unique is that we also have to protect our vendors. The clients will come and go, but my photographers, my florists, the people, I work with them every single weekend. And so ensuring that I'm sort of playing the liaison, being able to play both sides of the coin to make sure at the end of the day, everyone is happy and this event goes out without a hitch. And honestly, kind of scheduling out the event and planning out the event so that on the event day, I've become irrelevant because it's going completely as planned without, me needing to interfere at all. And I think it's just being able to gain that confidence and give yourself permission as an event planner to say, it's okay to be that gatekeeper and protect my clients and protect my vendor partners.
Yeah, I think it's a very delicate balance, I would assume, right? Like how to find that, right combination.
It is a delicate balance. I think that this is why I love being in the Midwest so much. We call it sort of the Midwest manners. I think it's because we are able to lead with kindness. A lot of the vendors that we work with don't have egos, that it doesn't matter who gets tagged, when they get tagged, where they get tagged. For us, it's just about putting our head down and doing a really, really good job and then being recognized for that work. But I will say on the flip side of that coin, oftentimes the middle of the country is overlooked. So when you look at Vogue or you look at Harper's Bazaar, some of those publications, what will irk me is that it's always the LA based, the New York based, the super big destination European weddings. And they'll be like, oh, bows are really hot right now. Or a couple years ago, it was like, purple and blue is really hot right now. And I'm like, hello, those of us in the middle of the country, some of my friends who are even here watching this webinar, we've been doing that for years. You're just not paying attention to what's going on. And so I've made a mission to sort of help elevate the middle of the country and really sort of show that we are doing just as good, if not better events than everywhere else.
And as you said, that the coasts, they have their own dynamic. The Midwest have their own
Absolutely.
style. You also mentioned that all vendors they're not created equal, right? Or their styles are different. How important is it for you as a professional to find your own niche and like know what's your value, what is so specific that you bring on the table? Given that as we're talking about the pricing topic as of the webinar.
Absolutely. I think it's hugely important. I have always placed a lot of value in doing one thing and doing it well. So I like sort of building businesses that sort of are within my vertical. So we've all been there, and I'm going to pick on DJs for a moment, but we've all been there, right? Especially those of us planners when we were coming up, where we get that super low level DJ who is a DJ and also a planner and also writes the timeline. And also, by the way, he can bring lighting. And if you want content, he can do that as well. And I think that is a huge red flag for me because I want him or her to focus on creating the best party ever and not be running around worrying about if the lights are working or capturing that content. And that's a philosophy that has been a value of cake and companies, but also what I look for in other vendor partners. I think you and I have talked about this a little bit as Maru's been expanding into, you have even said, I didn't try to get into the CRM game, but it just made sense that maybe contracts and payments go hand in hand. And then paying your 1099 employees go hand in hand. And that's something that I appreciate about Maru. You're not trying to be doing something completely different, but these things are sort of within the same vertical. And I see the same thing when it comes to vendors. For example, floral and production really go hand in hand. That's something that makes a lot of sense, but being a, band leader and then trying to be an event planner also doesn't go hand in hand. And so I'm looking for vendors who can do their one or two things and do them incredibly well and are growing, vertically rather than horizontally, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense. And Kate, one thing, through our conversations, just even outside of this webinar and just overall, I think that, when people talk to you, there is I personally feel there is very strong self-confidence wave, like I'm receiving, like a person really knows, her strengths, her business's strengths, have very clear goals. Like how, what role does the self-confidence play in recognizing and communicating that value when you're talking with your clients?
Yeah, no, I'm laughing a little bit because I think I have imposter syndrome just like everybody else. I think we all do. I just made it a mission to sort of be more vulnerable and put myself out there. And I think that's why Kate's Party People has had some success, is because we want people to peek behind the curtain and that we want them to see actually how we're doing things. I think confidence is hugely important. I have to be able to sit down with a dad and tell him why his tent cost went from 190,000 to 240,000, and I have to do that confidently. So that's not only confidence in myself, but it's confidence in my vendor partner. It's confidence in understanding my vendor partner's pricing, and then being able to be that third party sell between that vendor, that tenting partner, and my client, and make them understand. And I will tell you, still probably 50% of the time, it's fake it till you make it. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to sell the crap out of it. And I think to a certain extent, I could sell ice to an Eskimo if I really, really believed in it. But where I struggle and I lack a lot of confidence is if I don't understand what that particular vendor or creative partner is doing, or I don't have confidence in the increased pricing or in the adjustment to the creative, then I can't turn around and sell that to my client. And so I think a big core value of Cake and Company is trying to understand as much as I can about what everybody else in the industry is doing. What makes photography or filmmaking so expensive? What makes catering so expensive? What makes the installation of a dance floor with a full flooded decal over the top? What's the cost drivers there, so that I can turn around and understand it and sell it to my client? Because without understanding that, me personally, I'm going to have no confidence walking into that conversation with the client. So as much education as I can do, as we all can do, to understand what everyone else is doing, what all of our partners are doing, is hugely important, and I think gives us that confidence. Because financial conversations is one of the hardest and parts of my job with my clients, but it's also one of the most important. So I have to be able to walk into that meeting and have the confidence to explain to my client what's going on,
Yeah, absolutely. And just on this topic, I'm curious, like, do you have any tactical maybe advice or some tips and tricks? Like, how do you stay updated and like improve your skills and knowledge around like the quality of the services of your partners, or what's going on their end? Basically, how you can help yourself to stay up to date and deliver maximum value to your clients and have those conversations with full confidence, as you said.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a delicate balance. There's this sort of fake it till you make it, but also I try to respect in difficult conversations to say, I'm not sure, but I know exactly who to ask that question to, and I will get back to you by such and such date and time, and then exceeding that expectation. So you get back to them even quicker than you said they were. But I do think that walking into a room, how you present yourself, just I think if somebody is lacking confidence in what they're doing, and many of us in the industry are solo entrepreneurs, right? So we're working in our basement by ourselves or in an office space with one other person. It's so easy to wear your athleisure to work, throw your hair back, and sit behind your desk and do editing or write a timeline or whatever that may be. But just the confidence, get up, make your bed, put on nice clothes, put on some makeup, fix your hair, walk in like you own the room. And the way that people treat you will be vastly different than if you're showing up to meetings, halfway there. And it's tough. I don't always want to get up and get dressed and put my makeup on, but there are days, even if it's virtual or even if it's via email, that I have to have a tough conversation with clients. That just gives me the confidence. I also really have enjoyed listening to audiobooks. So I've never been the kind of person that reads like books about work. Like I like rom-com-y style books. It's never been my thing. I was also the kind of mom who never read a book about like parenting. So, we'll see how that works out when my kids are older. It's just not my thing. I find it boring and I don't want to do it in my downtime is read about work. So I've started listening to audiobooks about work. I know it's super, super hot right now, but the Unreasonable Hospitality book by Will Guidara is incredible. I couldn't read it, but I listened to it. And I think that so much of what he talks about in making a luxury, a high-end, a Michelin star restaurant is transferable to what we all do. Whether you're a makeup artist, you're a catering company, you're an event planner, it's so transferable for all of us. And for me, just getting little bite-sized nuggets, right? Like listening to Lynn Easton talk, listening to Marcy Bloom talk, going to some of these conferences and writing down. I have 3 Post-it notes sitting on my desk right now of just something Marcy and Lynn said to each other in our mastermind group recently that I was like, I'm going to use that phrase next time I talk to a couple about my team. And I think just, fake it till you make it is the rest of it, I guess.
It's like with all startups, right?
It's like, it's not, we all start.
Right. And I see there was a question also, how do you, work with the creative partner? Hopefully, we just answered that question, but if not, please let us know. And please feel free to add more questions in the chat. We'll make sure to cover it, either as we go or in the end of the webinar. Just to shift gears a bit. Oh, okay. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think to just expand on that, absolutely. And I think the number one question is, let's say I'm dealing with lighting, calling the lighting provider and saying, it looks like we jumped from $10,000 to $12,000 in this lighting. I'm a paper person. I will print the 2 quotes. I will go through it, see if I can highlight. And let's say we find out it was 70 more pin spots that were needed. Can you tell me why you felt like 70 more pin spots are needed? Or is it a change in the installation or the timeline that is going to be that cost driver? That's my question. What's the cost driver here that's adding this cost so I can explain it to the client? Because at the end of the day, you, the photographer, or you, the lighting designer, or you, the caterer, are going to pass on these extra fees, but they're going to look to me as the planner to give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So I have to be able to understand why you may have added cost, or how you load in, or how much team members are going to need for that installation, or all of those things. Because if I don't understand, then I can't turn around and sell it to my client.
I think it's this is where your finance background comes really, handy, because that's exactly, what I spent part of my career, just understanding of the variables and like the main drivers for that. So yeah, I mean, I can second to that, because those are the questions that usually people ask when they see the big difference in expectations or plan and actuals, and they look for those answers. Kate, just to shift gears into, we spoke about the business partners.
I think one of the biggest questions.
Oh. Sorry, my connection looks like again lagging
Sorry,
a bit.
That's okay. I was just going to say, I think one of the biggest questions I get is, why, as a photographer or filmmaker so expensive. If I had a dime for every dad who said, oh, $15,000 for 6 hours, I wish I was a photographer. And they have no concept of everything that goes into being a photographer. They have no concept of everything that goes into being a filmmaker. And neither did I when I started in this industry. But it's my job, it's my role to have conversations with photographers and filmmakers to understand everything that happens behind the scenes, so I can turn around and say, you're only seeing 10% of their job in those 6 hours. The other 90% you're not seeing, but there is still value there. And so I think it's just through those conversations that you can become more educated and therefore more confident.
Yeah, yeah. And we spoke a lot about the partnership between the planner and the service provider, photographers, videographers, and so on. I'm curious to look into more relationship between the planner and the couple, because ultimately that's your client. So how important is the market positioning for event planners? Like, what strategies do you use to effectively position yourself and attract the right clients and the clientele of the level that you target and aspire to?
Yeah. Now today, 16 years in this industry, 12 years with Kate & Company, we do very little marketing most of what we do is going to be word of mouth or social media marketing. That being said, somebody who maybe is in year 3 to 5, or who's trying to transition from lovely weddings into luxury weddings, or from luxury into ultra luxury weddings, what you need to do is probably different than somebody who is okay at the plateau that they're currently at. So when we came into the marketplace, we came in hot and heavy. We advertised everywhere. I was on every platform. I uploaded albums to The Knot, to Wedding Wire. I met with any editor of a magazine that would take my call. I sent them something as a follow-up. I mean, you have to stay in front of people over and over and over and over again, or they're going to forget about you.
Yeah.
I think that our biggest challenge is really getting the client to understand our value, because when our clients' parents were getting married, there really wasn't event planners. I think Marcy Bloom was probably the first party planner, and she had to spend a lot of time convincing people that this was a real job, just like I had to convince my dad it was a real job. So now, to me, the biggest and best investment that we can all make to gain market share or to position ourselves within the market is going to be investing in social media. Instagram is great, but I will tell you, your future couples are all on TikTok, and TikTok referrals are kind of trash right now. But it is where your future clients are at. And you don't have to do silly dances behind a camera to be on TikTok. We have 35, 40,000 followers on TikTok, and I've never once danced in front of a camera. But that's really, they're getting all their information from social. And I will say Pinterest is also still very, very, very hot for recently engaged couples. Most of my traffic comes from Pinterest to our website, or from Instagram to our website. And so really making sure it's free to have a Pinterest business account. Like, these things, it just takes a lot of time to do it. But I think those are things that we're currently investing in that are helping increase our market share, to help position us within the market, that are going really, really well for us right now. The last thing I will say on that is you have to stop investing your time and your hard-earned money in people who are not investing in you. And I can feel the cease and desist order coming, but The Knot does not, and Wedding Wire does not support event planners. They do not support photographers. They are the ones asking us for tens of thousands of dollars to advertise, and then promoting that an event planner should cost you $500 and you don't need to pay your photographer more than $1,200. Stop giving your money to people who are not investing in you, and start using that money to network, to go to Engage, to go other places. Because I promise you, if you tracked your leads, if you tracked the quality of your leads, you might be getting quantity from those places, but you are not getting your best quality from those places. And that is, I think, hugely, hugely important. And I apologize, and I hope their attorney doesn't come for me.
I'm sure they won't. There are a couple of questions that came in. One from
Yeah.
AB. If I'm trying to merge more into being viewed by the client as the gatekeeper, and I'm considering adding a clause to my contract that says something along the lines of the only vendor that can be booked prior to me is the venue, and if any others are already, then they have to be on my list or vetted by me. What are your thoughts on the specific method of implementation?
I think, Abby, great question. A little bit depends on where you're at in your career and where you want to grow. If you are wanting to be in the luxury or ultra luxury marketplace, my advice, and I'm one person, would not be to add the first clause you mentioned to your contract where they can only book the venue before you, because high net worth individuals all run in the same circle and they all talk to each other. And some of my best clients have come to me with one or two vendors already booked. However, I do agree adding a clause, it's in my contract. I have two specific clauses in my contract regarding vendors, and it's just that they must be approved by us. We don't believe in lists. We don't operate from lists, but we do say that it has to be vetted and approved by us. And that really just protects us from working with the Aunt Susies of the world who thinks she's a florist. The second vendor related clause that is in our agreement that has helped us a lot is I think we have 4, we might have gone down to 3 this year, 4 stationary providers that you're allowed to choose from, because I'm done working with online platforms where the printing is sort of half-assed. Paper is inherently super important to me. It's also part of how we tell our couple's story. So you might decide, Abby, that photography is really important to you, or that production is super important to you. And I think it's very fair to add something to your contract that protects you from working with people that you don't want to work with. The hardest part about that is getting back to Alex, what you asked earlier, is the confidence to hold people to the terms of your contract. But I have found just adding that in there starts the conversation at the beginning, and that it's we have a conversation about stationery and vendors pretty early on.
Yeah. And
was that a question? Sorry, I missed the rest of it.
No, all good, all good. There are a couple more questions.
Yeah,
one from Cassandra.
Fire away.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your insight on how to better educate your local market about the value of investing in a full service planner. Our biggest challenge is how local couples won't think twice about spending $8,000 plus for a photographer or a band, but they believe that it's too luxurious to spend the same amount of money for a full service planner. So there isn't a very limited amount of clients who even consider working with a team in that capacity.
Sure. I think you have to talk about this on your social platforms till you're blue in the face. One of the things that is the biggest challenge about being in the wedding industry is our clients are often not repeat clients. So what I was telling my couples a year ago, I'm having to repeat because there are newly engaged couples now, and I'm having to say the same thing over and over again. So I think aspects that can help you there is talking about it on your socials, talking about it on your blogs. I have a love-hate relationship with blogs, but maybe call it a journal or something along those lines. But where you really break down what does a full service planner do versus a venue coordinator versus an event designer. What does that look like? And apply definitions. The second thing that I think can really help you there is answer the question with your couples before they even have asked it. So I'm kind of like, I use the phrase, as compared to my competitors. I use that a lot. And they haven't asked me at all about my competitors. I haven't likely yet asked them who else they're interviewing, but I'll say, as compared to my competitors, we are full service, and it's the only thing that we have to do. And another phrase you are welcome to steal from me is, if I'm ultimately going to be held responsible for everything that goes right, but ultimately everything that goes wrong for the event, I have to be involved in every decision that you make, because otherwise I come in at the end and then I'm held responsible for any of the good or bad decisions that you made throughout the process, and I can't fix it if I don't have enough time. So I need to be involved from the very beginning, and I use that phrase. At the end of the day, if they don't value you, the planner who spends the most amount of time on the project, I mean, we spend thousands of hours on our couples projects, more than, I'm not going to name specifics, but any other people, then they're not your client. I think getting some education into your marketplace, getting other planners on board in your marketplace to continue educating your market.
So, sorry, and I think connected to that question, someone asked in the chat, so as a young planner whose business is relatively new to the industry, how should I work to earn respect from the vendors who may doubt or question me while still respecting and supporting them and their specialty to ensure that the event is successful for the clients?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for both your client and for your vendor partners, you not only need to do a good job, you need to do an incredible job. And you need to show that venue, that photographer, that filmmaker, or stationery company how much value you bring to the table and how much easier their job is because you are there. The best thing, the person you should make, sorry to everyone else here, but the person that needs to be the most happy, my most important vendor on a wedding day is my photographer. Because at the end of the day, all I walk away with and all my client walks away with are photographs of the event. Because as beautiful as the flowers are, they're going to die. People will remember the time that they had on the dance floor, but they probably won't remember who the band was. So I place a ton of value in that photographer. And as a new planner, one of the easiest ways for you to make your photographer happy is for you to be in charge of that timeline and executing your timeline. Don't lean on your photographers or your filmmakers to be the planner in that aspect. So have your timelines done earlier, have them color coded, make a special timeline for just your photographer, your filmmaker, your band, your hair and makeup team. Your job is to make their life easier, because next time they're talking to a client, they're going to say, oh, have you ever worked with Susie Smith event planning? Her timelines are so easy. It makes my job so much easier. And they're going to start wanting to make you to refer you business. So anything that you can do to make the vendor's life easier, and most of the things that you can do to make a vendor's life easier also makes your event well executed, so your clients will be happy as well.
Yeah. It's, the more I'm learning about the job of event planner, seems like a lot of work on both fronts. So it's literally being like in between with different objectives. So yeah,
there's a reason it's always on the list of the most stressful jobs in the world, because we have so much weight on our shoulders. And getting back to one of the earlier questions, I have no patience for couples or their families who don't place value in what I do for a living, because I will have the confidence to say we are, if not the most important, at least the second most important vendor that's there on a wedding day. And the only person I will maybe fight tooth and nail for that top spot is probably their photographer, because they're going to hang those pictures on the wall. But so why shouldn't we be valued similarly financially? We spend the most amount of time. We are the guider of the project. We are the ones helping them make decisions. We answer every email. We're on every phone call. I mean, we should be paid the most, and we should be the most important. However, getting back to the person who asked that question, is I'm in such a place of privilege to say that, because I've been doing this for 16 years. If you've been doing this for 2 years, that's a much harder confidence to have.
Gotcha. And speaking about the kind of the pricing compared to the value that you bring on the table, there is a value-based pricing strategy concept that's going on around the industry for some time. Could you explain what this concept is about and provide some examples of how event planners can implement the strategy in their pricing models?
It cut out on me a little bit. Which pricing strategy?
Value-based pricing. value-based pricing strategy.
Value-based pricing, yeah. The easiest, I will shout it from a rooftop, I will put it on a billboard, is planners, especially full service, should be billing on a percentage. Because then as the wedding grows, you are protected because your fee also grows. And that to me is how I equate my value to the budget. We charge about 20%. I'm happy to share it. I have no secrets to keep. We charge a base fee plus 20% of the project. And that is probably the most expensive piece of the project, is our fee. And it should be. And I think that if you're not charging on a percentage, you have to transition there, because it's the easiest way for you to be protected, but also to that your value properly matches the amount of work, because the amount of work I do for a $50,000 wedding and $1 million wedding is vastly different. And so I think it's super important to be billing on a percentage. And that's something that I think there's at least one planner in St. Louis, if not two here. I think I was the first in our market billing on a percentage. And now a lot of full service people in St. Louis are billing on a percentage. And I think that's hugely important. I see a question about the base fee in addition to the 20%. So our base fee covers, we do all of our designs in-house. So we do sketches and renderings and things in-house, versus depending on what market your base, like if you're in LA or New York or Dallas, you might bring in a design, floral, and production firm that handles some of that. So our base fee covers our core team of 4 people on the event day and our time to do that in-house design. Any other additional staffing that might be required on the wedding day is explored within the design phase and billed to the client at that point. I also bill my percentage monthly to the client, so they pay me in smaller increments. And that is something, shameless plug for both of us. I teach people how to do that. You can join Kate's Party People if you're interested in doing that. And I bill all of my percentages through Maru. And I have a really easy process of getting my PDFs over to the clients. They go right over to my website. They click the link to pay, super easy. And all those fees are passed on to them. So it's pretty easy. And if you want to dive more into percentage-based billing, feel free to reach out to me offline or consider joining Kate's Party People. Shameless plug.
Yeah. And Amina is asking a question on the percentage pricing. If you're a newer or partial planner doing wedding management, day of coordination, does that model still work, or do you recommend flat fees in that case?
Nope. I would recommend a flat fee. I think a flat fee for, let's call it, in my marketplace, people call it management, but I have found that and people in other marketplaces don't refer it, but like a day of person, let's say you're coming in 60, 90 days out, that to me makes the most sense. Flat fee based off of you have a very easy to understand scope of work. I'm doing the timeline. I'm there for 6 hours. I will help get you down the aisle. I will not help you set up your florals, things like that. I think for more in the partial realm, you still probably have a pretty set scope of work. Flat fee makes sense there. And then full service percentage to me makes the most sense. I think as you grow into the luxury marketplace specific to planners, having 3 packages makes sense, but every year as you continue to go trying to get rid of some of those lower level packages, that's what we did. So we first got rid of our day of package, then we got rid of our partial planning, and then only offered full service. At that point, I had a pretty robust portfolio and referrals coming in. It's scary to let business walk out the door, but I think that there's a reason so many day of coordinators are very young. And for those of us who have been doing this for a very long time and who have 3 boys at home, I don't want to work every weekend. And I don't think it's fair to my couples that they can't get a hold of me because I am working every weekend. And so our pricing is appropriate for the amount with me and my team.
Yep. And I think, to be honest, again, my reference here is kind of the world of startups and software. And this nature of that, we have certain packages of of our products, or different plans, where there is like small package that is fixed. But hey, if you're a massive operation, you have like nationwide presence, like of course there'll be much more resources that my team will be spending, and the, I don't know, like servers or data that we're going to store for your business. So of course it's strange to assume that the fees will be the same, and like I want to grow my business together with yours and to support yours at scale. So this concept of pricing, percentage pricing, it's quite common in startups, and it's very interesting to see like different industry and how it's developing. And I see the question from AB.
Yeah.
I've been in the business for 11 years, do both design and planning, and charge a minimum with 14%. I include the entire weekend of events in my scope. However, I feel like the communication or expectations are clunky for weekend events that are not hosted by the bride or her family. Example, groom's family doing the rehearsal dinner. Can you speak to that process for you in both the inquiry and yeah, sorry, I missed the ending of the question. Sorry. Yeah, both the inquiry and the planning
That's okay,
stages.
I'm pulling it back up.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you charge a minimum with 14%, very low, Abby. Give yourself a raise this year. Let's get that up to 15 or 16%. Included in the entire weekend of events in my scope. However, so I'm going to make an assumption, and you can jump in the chat. Are you charging that 14% on all of the aspects of that weekend too? So meaning if the rehearsal dinner is at the Ritz-Carlton, are you charging your 14% on all of those events? I think that makes sense. I understand that the communication can get a little bit clunky because you have multiple hosts involved. So I don't contract those events up front. I contract them completely separately with a full contract with the principal or the host of that specific event. So I just contract the wedding first, and that contract is pretty detailed in terms of typically a lot of my couples are mom and dad hosting on behalf of a couple, right? So it's mom and dad's name listed in my contract on behalf of couple's name for this specific event at this rate, and all four of them sign it. If let's say in this case, it's a heterosexual couple, the groom's family came in and they want to host a rehearsal dinner, then they contract me completely separate, because in my contract, I do require you to tell me who the contact and final decision maker on the rehearsal dinner or the welcome party is likely different than the wedding day. So I would encourage you to contract those separately so that you can streamline and not have a clunky experience in terms of your communication.
And Kate, on this topic, on the topic of communication, the pricing and the value, what are some effective communication techniques that you would recommend or you use yourself to convey the value of your services to potential clients?
So, when our couples come to us, we are open about our pricing from the very, very first email. We kind of have qualified leads versus needs to be qualified versus unqualified. And I don't even hop on the phone with someone that's unqualified. We just let them know that our minimum would unfortunately carve out too much of their bottom line, taking away from some of the decor that they might need to fully realize their dream. And we'd recommend reaching out to these 3 planners or whatever. If they need to be qualified, we ask some questions and share our pricing. And if they are qualified, we share our pricing and ask to get on a call. From there, we send a dossier, which is just some of our favorite couples, and it outlines a little bit about our packages, but it's very like fluffy. It's not like bullet points of what we do. And essentially it says, we're full service. There's nothing we don't do, because my full service is truly full service. I'm not adding on extra to take your welcome boxes somewhere, or, extra to add, I don't know, some type of service. It's just full service. And my 20% goes on top of everything. And then I think our website and our socials does a pretty good job of communicating our value and what to expect from us. In that, we would let them know our minimum and then ask to jump on a call. I don't do a certain number of weddings a year. because I bill on a percentage, I'm looking for a certain number of budgets that year. So just to keep it easy, let's say I'm looking for 4 million in budgets a year at 20%. That could be one wedding at $4 million. It could be 4 weddings at $1 million, or more than likely, it's some weddings at 500, some at 700, some at 120. And so most of the time it's about 8 to 10, but it just depends on if it's a good year or a bad year. I do share that information with my couples up front. And the other thing is, I don't tell them, my emails aren't, yes, we are available, because what if I don't like them? What if they're not a good fit stylistically? So it is, yes, we are still interviewing clients for spring of 2025. That's kind of how we answer it. I think I got on a tangent and lost sight of your original question, Alex, so I'm not sure if I answered it fully.
No, so the question was like how effectively communicate the value and what techniques, but I think, there are some great, gems in your answer. So I think it totally works. And one more question is, because we asked the poll about the client testimonials. So majority of people use clients'
Awesome.
feedback and like previous examples. And do you have any other tips on like crafting, compelling proposals, or something that would really resonate for the couple when it's their first interaction with you? Let me know if I cut out.
I'm so sorry, because I think that's still
No,
rolling in.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So the question I was asking is like, if you have any tips on crafting compelling proposals. So when it's a first interaction, with the clients, like, yeah.
Right. Yep. So I don't do a custom proposal for every client, because we bill, our fee is our fee is our fee. If they ask for it, I will do one. But like I said, we send that dossier that outlines our package. More often than not, we go straight into contract. If they need a custom proposal, usually it's a destination wedding. They are very short, sweet, beautiful looking. And the best advice I can give you is to make sure that it is a link and not a PDF that has to be downloaded. And the reason being is high net worth individuals are typically incredibly busy. They are doing things for their wedding on the go. That's why they're hiring us to take care of these things. So nothing is worse than when a photographer sends me a PDF and I'm sending it to my client with maybe 2 other PDFs, and then I can't get the email to go out. So I love when it's a link, and I would definitely encourage people to consider Showit, because they make it a really easy process to create proposals that are links, so that your couples can be sitting in the back of a cab or on their way to dinner and talking to their fiance and say, oh gosh, I do have the proposal from that planner or that filmmaker. Let me just pull that up, and boop, it's right there on their phone, and not trying to get it to download and the Wi-Fi is not working. So I think the number one piece of advice I would get would be that it needs to be a link and not a PDF. Second is, if they are paying you to have a hyper attention to detail, your proposals also have to have a hyper attention to detail. Their names have to be spelled correctly. Your formatting has to be done the same throughout. Your margins have to be the same. Your footer needs to be the same. All of those things, because if your proposal doesn't have a hyper attention to detail, then they're going to assume that you don't have an attention to detail and go find somebody who does.
Yeah. And another aspect of having those proposals online is that ability to update, or like if you spot that mistake that you mentioned, it's so easy just to go back quickly, refresh it and update. So then you don't have those moments when people downloaded PDF and there is no way back.
Exactly, because on the link you update it and hopefully they just didn't see it with the spelling error. There's no changing that link. But with the PDF, you'd have to send them a whole new PDF. Yeah. We've transitioned a lot of our stuff over to Showit this year. And I think between Showit and then the other resource we use a lot is Tonic. site shops. The two of them together are really great and make it super, super easy. And then you can link. So if you are an IO planner user, or you want them to pay your Maru invoices direct on their website, all of that can be linked and fully branded to your brand. So they never realize that they're leaving. They don't know that they're leaving your website to go to Show It, or to go to Maru, or to go to, IO Planner, or whatever it is.
Yeah. And Kate, in conclusion to our webinar, one of the most, I think, important topics is how to deal with the pricing objections. So what are the, how to do it confidently, how to handle this, how, again, to demonstrate your value and of the services that you provide.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to have a great understanding of what your overhead costs are and why you need them to be covered. Because I can sit in a meeting with a dad and explain to him, well, compared to my competitors, you have 3 people answering your emails, and you have 4 people there on the event day. And all of those things cost money. And you, Mr. Smith, being the savvy business person that you are, I assume you want me to pay people more than $3 an hour. So I think that it's really important that you have value for the services we're offering, the time that it takes, and that understand that our pricing is appropriate. It is, covers all of the overhead, the services that you're getting. The other thing that we do use a lot, this phrase, and I stole it from Lynn Easton, and so you can steal it from me because I want to give credit where credit is due, is we kind of gloss over it in those discovery calls. It's kind of, I do them all standing, typically behind this desk. I feel more confident when I'm standing. I have another spot that's a little prettier that I might do it for a prospective client call. My background matters, things like that. And I'll just lean in and say, as I'm sure all of the top event planners charge 20% on top. We're no different. The only thing that makes us different is that we have a base fee, and here's why. Before they've even asked me the question, I've answered it. And there's 2 things they're going to take away from that. Either one, no, I had no idea that all the top planners have charged 20%, but now I feel too stupid to ask you that because I feel like I should have known that. Or no, I didn't know. Yeah, no, I didn't know that, but it's helpful information. I think it's also really important to understand who your competitors are, who you're losing business to, so that you can sell against them before the couple even asks you to.
That's amazing. And yeah, that was the last question on my list. I see Raphael asked the question in the chat. How can you define what is your value as a business? I'm a taco caterer, and sometimes I feel lost on how to distinguish my value.
How can you define what is your value? Yeah. Well, okay. I have to assume when I hear taco caterer, I think, wow, that's really, really, really cool. Like, you are providing something that like a normal caterer who serves chicken and beef all weekend can't do. And I assume that your products are probably fresh, and maybe you have some sort of cool setup and a cool way to serve those things. So like showing those things on social or on your website. And the other thing I think would be really helpful is to see if you can partner with caterers, because oftentimes caterers at the top are looking for more niche things to provide their couples, but don't have the capability to make it super cool in-house. And so they could kick that out to you. So knowing that you could possibly get referrals from both caterers and couples and planners, I think would be a really awesome. I think it's great to be hyper specific, hyper niche. But you have to be able to communicate that. You don't always have to be able to communicate it eloquently. You can throw it in ChatGPT and have them make it eloquent for you. But I think it's really important to know what your niche is.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate. And as we have the last 3 minutes, my favorite part of our webinars is a small quiz. What's your favorite city and why?
My favorite city and why, probably Positano, anywhere on the Amalfi Coast. I grew up in a family thinking that I was like 100% Italian. Turns out I'm like 10% Italian, but just the food, the culture, the people, the wine, put me on the Amalfi Coast on a patio with my husband, a bottle of wine and some pasta, and I will be the happiest the girl in the world.
Nice. What's your favorite book?
Well, seriously, right now it's Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. I'm listening to it for the second time.
Okay.
Also, outside of that, I read a lot of, the Questionnaires series, Iggy Peck Architect, or that's what my 6-year-old likes right now. So all the moms and dads out there can probably relate. I don't have time to read for myself right now. So a lot of
Okay.
Bluey, a lot of Questionnaires series
Yeah.
at our house.
Yeah, love Blue as well. My 6-year-old loves it too. Um,
Yeah.
Kate, what is something you've learned recently and that really amazed you?
Something that I learned recently that really amazed me. I've been really into like learning things about cooking. I'm not a very good cook. I've always been a baker. And so my husband has taught me a lot recently about like how you season meat, how you season food when you're cooking, and seasoning of layers and things. I did not know that I thought you just put some salt on it at the end and you'd call it a day. So I've been really enjoying just like a lot of culinary stuff, how to season properly, how to use your knives properly, a lot of things in the kitchen, and our kids really enjoy it as well.
Amazing, amazing. And we are right on time. Kate, it was such a pleasure having this conversation, and I hope it was useful
Woo!
for our attendees. If you have any questions, please,
Yeah.
either send us to support@marie.us. We're going to communicate this to Kate as well, and follow up. We're going to share this recording after the webinar and the blog post as well. Thank you so much for your time. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.